Hello and welcome back. We are now heading into episode 27, which is crazy. And I have two guests with me today. I have Kirsty and Jake, aka my bride and groom to be in 2 weeks' time. Which actually, what's crazy is that by the time this is published, you will be married.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. But I'm on here today and I've got these guys just to speak a little bit about the journey that they've just been on. So we had a team shoot on Sunday. Obviously there was 4 of you guys, and I guess just in how why you wanted to start it is probably the best place to begin, because you guys scared me when you were asking me about it. So what made you kind of go, oh, let's do a photo shoot? Obviously, I know I was advertising it and sort of talking about it anyway with you guys.
It was a bit weird because we both had the same thought, but then we never actually wanted to talk to each other about it. So we both thought exactly the same thing, but neither of us really broached the subject at all. So I kind of mentioned it after you put it on socials or whatever, and then Kirsty's gone, I was thinking exactly the same thing, and obviously the timings are perfect.
Yeah, so obviously I timed the team shoot around going away for your wedding, so it's in Greece. So when you came to me, they were like, well, it works perfecely.
Yeah, funnily enough. Yeah, because you're coming away, yeah.
Yes, because I'm with you. And yeah, it was really exciting. I think as well, you've done a previous cut before, because that's how we actually met.
Yeah.
On the Stairmaster.
I was.
Yeah. So what was different, I guess, from previous ones to then be coached, because you've not had a coach before?
No. So when I've done it previously, one, it's been easier this time because Jake's done it as well.
Love that.
So doing it by yourself isn't quite so easy.
And did you find that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've never done anything official before. I've just tried to track before as well, but
yeah.
I think quite early on it was quite easy to say that we wouldn't have done it without each other.
Yeah, it makes such a difference, I guess, what the people around you, and also, I guess, being in the same environment and sort of the same jobs, you kind of have that same wavelength in understanding the process of times and things like that, of meals and what you have and when you eat together. I mean, given you guys don't actually see each other that much,
Yeah,
so it might have made it a bit easier.
But in a way, it kind of made it nicer. It kind of, our time together, we kind of valued even more.
Yeah.
And then if we were training together or even cooking together, we most of the time really enjoyed it. There was obviously a couple of times it was just painful, to be honest, tiring.
All the hanger. But yeah, so when you did it previously, what did you do? Just track and then just up your output?
Before, I'll be honest, I've done a lot more cardio and I was a lot more aggressive with it.
Okay.
Whereas I think the way I've done it this time, one, not knowing my calories has probably been quite a good thing.
Yeah, it was really good. You guys had meal plans, and I actually found that when I went on to meal plan with John, was that I didn't have to think about what I was doing. It was already done for me. So everything, like, I didn't know my calories at all, and it was just nice to not even think about that. So when I will never forget when I'd have like lower days or a rest day, I'd talk myself into being tired before the day's even begun. Whereas actually, you've still got food. It's just, okay, I've just got a little bit less because it's rest day. Obviously, the unfortunate thing for you guys with your jobs in the emergency services, it's your output is naturally so high.
Yeah.
So obviously, I guess on the days that you've not got as much going in terms of fuel, you can feel that difference probably
I found myself sometimes actually looking forward to the off days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was not initially. Don't get me wrong. Initially, I was like, oh, wow, how am I going to manage that? But yeah, there was times.
I think it's knowing that rest as well.
Yeah,
you
sometimes.
kind of want that recovery.
Yeah, but I think not having to overthink it too much and having the meal plan just laid out for you.
Yeah,
I much preferred that. I wouldn't be able to do. It's a classic example when we were out for dinner the other day.
Yeah.
And poor Lizzie trying to put her calories together, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, it's just, I think, and I was talking to her about it in her check-in today actually, but we don't want to, especially because you can go out during, obviously we did not, that was after your shoot, so we had a lovely time, but it's just then not massively stressing yourself out about okay, it might not be accurate, but it's going to be more accurate than if we don't and just guess that this is an okay meal sort of thing. But yeah, having that meal plan, just knowing exactly what you're having, exactly when you're having. Because I had to give you guys quite a bit more information in terms of, you gave me a lot of information on your shifts, and then I kind of went back and sort of laid out when timings would be best, how we approach rest days, how we approach certain days for certain timings, just where your shifts are all over the place. And did you find that made quite an impact, or was it just like, okay, I just need to plan ahead?
I think for me, it's the planning for the whole set, because it's, if I don't, like I had a couple of issues where I was obviously stuck at work and I was messaging you like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I think having you helping me out in that situation, because I planned my day.
Yeah.
And then things change.
Yeah. And that
And
also is real. I think for anyone, like you can have moments where, I don't know, you can be late home from work, or you're not going to eat till this time, or you've only got this option and I need to grab something, it's not ideal, but okay, what do I do? And just by you messaging, being like, okay, like I'm going to like help. And it just probably gave you that little bit more confidence as well. And for you, you really planned ahead, didn't you, each week?
I tried to. I tried to plan it. There was a couple of times, obviously, I had to message and be like, I think there was one time I couldn't get to my food. I think that was the most painful. My food was about half an hour away and I just couldn't get to it. So I was like, what do I do?
It was stuck where you needed it to be.
So what do I do?
And it's just being sort of, even though that's not the everyday, so it's not the normal, but just having that consistency of what actually you're eating. Like, I think you went to Nando's that day, didn't you? I remember I was training, it was on a Saturday, I was training legs, and you were like, help!
Yeah. I think I did genuinely start the message like that. Yeah, I was like, she's going to pick this up straight away as long as I put help at the start.
Yeah, because I always kind of see what my team are messaging me as well. So then obviously getting a little bit more into how you wanted to push for things. Obviously, you've got your wedding. And was it at the start of being like, we just want to sort of be in the best shape possible for that? Did you think for the wedding? Obviously, you thought for yourselves as well. And I know summer, and you obviously were away for 2.5 weeks for it. But what was that thought process in terms of, no, this is the change that I need to make?
I think it kind of, to say it kind of not got out of control, but neither of us were really happy with how we were looking for a start. We weren't.
It just kind of chips away, doesn't it? I think you don't really notice, and then and it doesn't help. Obviously, like people always say, like relationship comfort and stuff. Do you know what I mean? You'd probably have similar meals because you both ate pretty well.
Well, that's the thing.
It's just then, okay, what we're eating well, but what's the fine tuning of this, because something's not happening.
And we both obviously said it's not. Obviously, we're getting married abroad. And not only are we getting married, so you want to be in good shape for it, or the best possible shape you can be, but then you're also, aside from the actual wedding itself, you're going to be out and about with all your friends in like 35 degrees, down at the beach, down at the pool, in your swimmers or whatever.
And it's also everyone you know. Exactly. Because normally when you go on holiday, you don't know anyone, so you don't really care.
You don't really have many weddings where people are going to see you in your, not wearing much at all, either side of it. So that's kind of what we had to think about. But obviously for us as well, and timing-wise, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was good. What about you?
I think we've both trained.
Yes.
And we've always eaten fairly well.
Yeah.
For me, it's the little goodies.
It's the treat.
For me, it's sugar. And I think exactly that. I think over winter especially, when the weather's rubbish, we just sit in an evening. Especially work's quite a hard environment because people do eat a lot of goodies.
I think work environments in general, I mean, not just kind of in sort of the emergency services, but in also just in day-to-day like office stuff as well. Like as soon as you're in that sort of base with people bring in all sorts and they share stuff. And I think that's where a lot of people really struggle. And it's then knowing that you guys have a lot, but you sent me a lot of photos of like people having donuts or something. And it's just, how did you, because you were on this journey, were you like, what was your thought process? Because I always say to people, just don't think like that. Like, and that's also almost unhelpful. But how did you think about it to not sort of delve into things?
I think for me, once I've decided I'm going to do something, I've decided
That's it.
And I think I'd made the decision we're doing the shoot.
Yeah.
And at that point, it wasn't even an option. But at the same time, if you're the person who isn't having a donut or isn't reaching for the biscuits, it's almost like you're the weird one.
I know, I find this baffling. I think so many people, like, you're then outnumbered, and it's like, well, actually, like, that, hang on a minute, that I'm doing, like, why is that abnormal? I don't understand that kind of culture into things, and it's 100% why a lot more people struggle today in general.
So I think for me, it was a few things. The main one, for what I think for both of us, is stubbornness. We're both so stubborn that we go, right, if we're going to do it, we're just going to do it.
Yeah.
Finding the ability of saying no.
Yeah.
Saying, no, I don't need that.
And also then if someone says it back to you, do you know what I mean? If someone's like, oh, but whatever, and they give any excuse, oh, it's only just one bite or whatever, you're just like, if you say no, they then shut up.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, oh, no, actually, I'm not interested.
And repetition.
Yeah.
If you're saying no just the once, they'll probably try again. But if you're saying no a few times, I'll swiftly give up.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. And obviously, you guys got phenomenal results. Obviously, neither of you have seen the photos yet but me.
Yeah, we'll take your word for it in a minute. Yeah.
And I think as well, you guys were really surprised of how, I think you were surprised of how buzzed you were on the day and afterwards. Because I don't know, I mean, you don't really go in with any expectation, I guess, because you have no idea. Sort of, I know that feeling. I've done it lots of times, and I've done it with my team. But it was so exciting to see that in you guys as well. When you messaged me yesterday morning, you were like, oh, "I'm so gassed." I was like, "Yes!" Like,
to be honest, I still am now.
I love it.
I think both are.
And I think you are in that little bubble, and I think it's being proud of yourself of what you've put your mind to achieve, and also it is only the start of the excitement for you guys in the next few weeks. But it's really powerful. And with your shifts, and you have the doggos, and like, it was, you guys are the perfect example of you absolutely can make time, because it's hard, like, describing your shifts, because you have night shifts, you have days, you have lates or earlies, it's never ending, and it's never the same each set, right?
No.
Yours is
mine's more repetitive, but then I do training, and I've got extra bits
so you've obviously just got a plan around that, and then cardio got added in. You didn't, your cardio ended up being dropped. Yours wasn't too bad. How much was the max that you had?
I don't want to say because I think it was like 3 25-minutes a week, which is, for me, like I said, one of the previous cuts before, I've done like 5 30-minutes, so for me that was nothing, which was quite easy.
And what was the highest yours went to, Jake?
There's just a theme to this whole thing of me just getting annoyed about what Kirsty was given, whether it was food or exercise. It was just constant. It was just disappointment.
And it's, I think, like, so many people, as like, everyone's so different in terms of day to day what their output is, and also how their body responds, and where their starting point is, also male to female, also where you've maybe previously done cuts and you haven't. Your body's going to be like, what's happening, because it's not done it regularly before. Whereas the more you cut and stuff, the quicker your body responds each year. Fingers crossed for prep next year. But it's, it's fascinating. And obviously we have to get you in a wedding dress. And that was the thing for Kirsty, is that we had to take that into consideration. And actually your food went up.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. Sorry, Jake. And Jake's cardio went up.
So I ended up with 4 25-minute.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I went beyond it in the end. As in, I ended up doing more.
Yeah.
Not by a lot, but it works.
And your outputs were quite high, because your steps were really high, and we couldn't really. We had to obviously take into consideration how far your output was going, because obviously you have a wedding dress to get into.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, we were just that point towards the end. We were like, let's keep going. Keep going. I remember Jake messaging me, what was it, last week? You were like, this is rubbish. I'm hating this session and I feel awful. And I was like, good.
Yeah, that was on the training on the low days, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you can also, I think, fascinating with these processes, play around with your low days and having them on a training day. And obviously it's not always necessary. You don't always need to do that. And it's so down to the individual. And I think this is the part of the process, is, or a cut or a shoot prep or whatever, that people don't realise, is that you actually can manipulate quite a lot without actually just cutting your food. Because we didn't change your food the whole time, right? I know we played around with the days that they were on, but your food stayed the same. We manipulated cardio a tiny bit, but we didn't make drastic changes. And I think so many people jump into like 60 minutes cardio and thinking the worst of it, when actually, you know, going with intensity, understanding where your output is. And also your guys' communication to me was phenomenal. And do you think that helped? Like how, because you guys were also, I mean, I speak to you most days anyway, but I think it makes such a difference to have that communication when you're slightly panicked. Or what do I do here? I think one of the days, maybe early on, you were sort of asking me about like which way round sort of for meals, and especially on your night shifts and things like that, which again, like it's doable. You've just got to keep that communication with your coach as well.
It's like I was having to factor in, I can't go 7 hours without food. I wouldn't be able to do that at any point ever.
It's not part
of being a big person, I guess. It's just not really, I wouldn't be able to stand up. So I was having my meal 5 at like 1 a.m, for example. And then having my breakfast from the next day at like 5, 6 in the morning. And that was quite a big gap for me. But you just have to manipulate it to make it work for you. And if you don't do that, if you have it in kind of black and white, and it was just a generic thing for everyone, it wouldn't work.
And also, because even, well, compared to all 4 of you on the shoot, obviously you've got Faye, who's a mum of 2, Callie, who obviously works more of a 9 to 5. Faye has very sporadic days anyway. Obviously she's up and about. Like, it was really interesting to have such a mix of you guys. And obviously everyone's on their own individual journey, but you guys really enjoyed show. You guys all got quite close. Like the group chat was popping off quite close towards the shoot, which was really nice. And did it feel nice that other sort of just having that in tune with other people?
I think so. It was definitely.
It's probably different for you than you, because girls to girls, you know.
Girl group.
Go
Jake.
Yeah, I was definitely the odd one out, should we say? I was trying to like vibe it with my outfits and stuff, but I'm not really sure.
I think it was really nice, like especially sort of celebrating it all after the shoot. Now, from more physical looks wise, as the journey went on, how did you guys feel about the changes that were happening? Because it was kind of, you panicked to start with.
Panicked a little bit because I wasn't trust to fit in.
I was like,
in a few hours, we'll find out if it still fits. But I think, well, you've seen my dress, obviously I can't really discuss this because Jake sat there. So it should be all right, but that's the only thing I was worried about.
And were you excited by the changes that were happening?
Yeah.
And like feeling...
It's nice when you train. I think day in, day out, you don't notice it.
No, because you only notice, I guess,
when you're doing like a shoulder day once a week, that's when you notice it, because you do see the difference.
But we were so different. As in, I don't know if you remember, right at the start of it, I dropped really quickly. Like I've seen my weight disappeared
within the first like 3 weeks. I was like, where's it gone?
Didn't really have much going on at all at first.
My weight barely changed.
And I could see you were worried about it at first, and I was a little bit. But I was thinking, just literally trust the process.
Yeah, and you have that, I think, and it's also that example by, even though not much changed in those first few weeks, it was like things were chipping, but it was just really, really slowly. And sometimes it just takes time to get that ball rolling. And like similar for the opposite way, where you sort of notice those changes really dramatically. And then I think sometimes we set that same expectation for every week after that. So then it's like, oh, well, actually, no, that can't always happen. Otherwise, I'm going to disappear into the abyss. So it's just then being like, oh, okay, actually, like we're really moving places now. I think you didn't send me a check-in flight. I think of checking photos for a couple of weeks because of your shift. And then you just came out of nowhere. I was like, where have you gone? And it was really exciting, and to document that. And I think when I sent you your side-by-side comparisons, did that like surprise you by the end of it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was quite negative about mine at first, like with my photos, and I was saying to Kirsty, I was like, I'm not really seeing anything here, and I'd saying that she'd be like, and you were the same, to be fair, and it's like, look at the difference in these two, and then when you do compare them, it does make quite a big difference. But yeah, I was quite negative about it at first.
It's hard. I think we're also so hard on ourselves. And I think I can say that for all 4 of you on the shoot. And I imagine say it for all my 5 girls on my second shoot as well, is it is really tough. We are so self-critical of ourselves, and I do exactly the same. But we've just got to then, it's having that outside eye. And that's where also having a coach is really good, because you stay persistent with it and you do trust the process. Whereas if you're doing it by yourself and just cutting, sometimes that self-discipline can just disappear slightly if we're feeling slightly negative about ourselves. When actually, when you step back from the process and like you document that from the start to the finish, you can see those changes by a mile.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, actually, I have done that. Go me.
Yeah,
It just takes time to get there.
I'll still kind of set myself my own individual goals.
Yes.
Just to kind of...
And you just kind of do that week by week.
Just to chip away, yeah. Realistically, I didn't really care what it said on the scales whatsoever. I didn't care
100%.
what body
It was
fat
the visuals.
It's all about the visuals of it.
Yeah, 100%. And also that confidence. How did you guys feel to describe the shoot day? Like, how did you feel on that day in yourselves? I know you were hungry. That's not allowed to be said.
He was very hungry.
That was a theme. That was just an ongoing theme for the whole thing. That just shows how much I must have been eating before.
Yeah, we embrace a little bit of hunger, and we need that. I think would be weird if we didn't.
Yeah, no, you were very, very excited for it. You were more excited than I was, I think.
Your excitement got more throughout that week, didn't it?
I think exactly that. You can't help but compare yourself. So at the start, like I said, he was dropping so much weight and I was like, I don't see a difference here. And there was no difference. And then all of a sudden it just came. And I think from when you upped my food, which is ironic.
Don't be scared of carbs, guys.
Carbs are friends. From that moment, I think I then got more excited because even though my food had been upped, I was still kind of seeing changes. And obviously my weight was dropping, which wasn't ideal. But by the time the day actually came, I was buzzing. Yeah.
And I think it's just that chipping away and noticing and looking back and actually being proud of where that journey kind of sits for you. And obviously you both looked insane. And it is really exciting for obviously what is ahead. But obviously we spoke on the day of the shoot about how you were feeling on the day before and after. But obviously, it's really interesting to reflect on the whole process. So I have kind of prepped you guys a little bit for this.
I mean, I've completely forgotten what the question was. Just 3 hours sleep has killed me off completely.
It's the example of the kind of sleep-deprived job you have.
I'm still on plan with my food.
There we go. Yeah.
I'm happy. I've eaten. Don't worry.
So... one thing you've learned on this process, we'll start there.
For me, like I said, when I've done previous cuts before, I've been really aggressive, and I think this has taught me you don't have to be. I think from the start, when you gave me the meal plan, low days were a little bit sad, but like the training days, I was having so many more carbs to how I would on just a normal day-to-day basis. Yeah. I probably realised that I don't actually eat enough carbs.
Love that.
And I'm on a cut, and I've been eating more than ever before, which... it's insane.
And like last week was crazy, wasn't it? We're just more and more and more carbs. And we just look better and better and better. I'm like, how is this? This makes no sense, but it does. Because then I started researching it.
Yeah,
I was sitting there the other day.
It's truly the magic of the process, and the same with, obviously, because it's the same way as bodybuilding. So when you, obviously, we weren't peaking for a show, but it was obviously the closest to that we were at. So to people listening, the start of the week you tend to deplete quite a bit, and then to the back end of the week, cut a few days out from the shoot, 2 to 3 days, you then just drip feed the carbs in, and obviously you want your body to respond on that. So we were in contact a lot. I spoke to you guys loads last week, and it was then just seeing how your body responded from that to then feel the best on the shoot day, which was fun.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely, as you said, absorbing carbs.
Like, oh my God, you were soaking up. Every time we woke up, I was like, you need more. So what would you say was one of the biggest things that you've learned?
So I had a couple. I've always heard of like the whole diet thing and being able to eat more and you can still kind of achieve what you're trying to do with, like, we were obviously looking for fat loss, essentially, not necessarily weight loss. But actually trusting that and actually having working to your proper macronutrients to eat properly to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and to fuel, I guess.
Exactly. That was huge for me.
Because people think, yes, you've got to optimize your fuel for your training and your food, but also your fuel for your entire day.
Exactly.
Like your body's going to need something throughout. Like it's not just necessarily for that small window of time.
And also, so in line with that kind of timings of food.
Yeah.
So that day I felt so flat in the gym and so weak is because I'd left too long after a meal and then I was training.
Yeah.
As soon as I'd eat sort of at a decent time and then go and train within, I don't know, an hour.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah.
The second one for me was realistically don't rely on what the scale says.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got really fixated on it. I'll still weigh like every
And I think
day.
we are human. I know we always are like, oh, we're not going to get, too wrapped up in the scales. You do a little bit, and I don't care what anyone says. It's not necessarily hugely unhealthy. Yeah. Obviously, if it does get unhealthy, that's when we have to start analysing what's going on and do we need it there? Do we need to, be doing that? But it's also then having all the data from everything else, which is probably where the pictures come in handy, which I always say to people, measurements are a form of data, pictures are a form of data, weight is a form of data. Neither one on their own is helpful.
Well, it's just someone said to me years ago, what would you rather do? Would you rather someone, if you're chatting to someone in, I don't know, on a night out or whatever, would you rather someone come up to you and say, oh, you look like you've lost weight, or you look good in whatever you're wearing or whatever, or you have a discussion about how many kilos you've lost or what your weight is?
I always say that to people irrelevant. When like people have these massive transformations, no one says, oh my god, how much do you weigh?
Yeah, exactly.
They always go, wow, you look amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's something so important. Good, love that. And okay, another one thing you're proud of. Who's going first?
I think for me, I've probably pushed myself more than I have before, because I think it was 12 weeks where I've done cuts before, they've been like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think...
And did you notice that difference, just that tiny bit longer?
Yeah, and like I said, it's a little less aggressive, and I think...
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, and you don't want it to be aggressive, really, because now you're in a really good position to like absorb everything you're eating and well manage and come out of it in a really good way, rather than sort of thinking really aggressive. You get so food focused and absolutely like dieted to hell to then come out of it aggressive as well. You want it to be kind of steady for both sides of things. It's
been a lot more sustainable as well.
Yeah.
As in, I've just found it, like I said, I have no idea what calories I've been eeating.
Yeah.
The yogurt days were a little bit sad, but...
By yogurt, she means there's no oats for breakfast. There's Greek yogurt for anyone. It's resto fun. What about you? One thing you're proud of, Jake?
I'll go with the corporate answer of very proud of Kirsty sticking to it more than anything. Very proud of us, to be fair, but sticking to it. We kind of dovetailed all the way through it.
I love it.
As in kind of drove each other on.
Yeah. And it's exciting to share the experience and to share the day. Like, and you guys made the most of yesterday, like, having that sort of celebration on the outside of it, which was really nice. Kirsty and Jake ate a lot of good stuff yesterday after the shoot. And last but not least, what would you say to people debating to do something like it?
Just do it, I think. I think for years I've seen your kind of previous shoots, clients, for example, like Lizzie last year.
Yeah.
And I've always thought it'd be nice to do it, but I've never really pushed myself to do it. And I think if Jake hadn't have said anything, I wouldn't have.
That's crazy.
But because he said, what about this? And I was like, okay, let's do it. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And like I said, Sunday, I think having all the girls, obviously, and Jake, but all the girls there, I'd never met Callie and Faye before.
Yeah.
They're really nice girls. It was it
was just good vibes, wasn't it?
See, with Lizzie there and you, and obviously Emily Toppin, she's amazing at what she does.
Yeah. So Emily, we actually joked on the day of the shoot. So Emily is a photographer and videographer for the wedding.
One of her 18 jobs or whatever.
For the wedding. And so we kind of treated this as your engagement shoot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was awesome. And also it kind of got you guys used to she's wicked to shoot with and being in PAG. And you guys said you really enjoyed it with no one being in the gym, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would have... I'm not really not confident without sounding arrogant in any way, but I think confidence-wise, it would have been quite
It would have been knocked a little bit.
So having that facility to
just
be able
had a little boogie.
Yeah.
It was great.
I don't know who's in charge of the music. That was questionable at times, but...
It's the random playlist.
Yeah. No, we had a great time.
It was good.
It was good fun.
It was good.
everyone was on the same hype as well.
Yeah, it was good. Everyone was gassing each other up. And I think that's what it's about. Like, it's not, that day isn't super scary or, you know, a little bit of nerves is normal because you're getting in front of a camera. Like, how often do we do that? But yeah, it was awesome. And that's kind of what I want the group shoots. That is my aim, for it to be an experience, for something that people are proud of pushing themselves for like something that people are like, I've done this myself. Like, this is really impressive, and we just have fun. And then the group atmosphere is just the vibes of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think because realistically, you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah, 100%.
I've always said that to be fair, I've always said that. I think when my sister passed away at 27 or whatever she was when she died, it's ridiculous. You don't know what's around the corner. I'm not saying we're all going to chop down dead, don't get me wrong, but you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Do it.
Yeah.
It's like when we went to Thailand last year, for example, and we ummed and ahed about it, and then we just went, do you know what, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it in the present, you're going to just have regrets massively. Exactly,
yeah. And also, I think in that sense, do it and just go for it. Yeah. Like, what happens if you give it your all? What if? Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Just commit to it, because, you know, I've got people on my second shoot who were so gassed after your one that came to me and was like, but I don't know what I'm going to look like. And I'm like, but that's the beauty of it. Like, you both had no idea what was on the other side of it or what the outcome was. But I find that so magical. Like, it's the best bit, and it's always the best bit of like prep and shoot preps and stuff. I don't know what I'm going to look like, but if I know what I need to do every day and I tick that, okay, cool, we'll do something cool.
I mean, I'm happy to say that we gave it our all.
Yeah, 100%.
Permitting you do that, and you can't really give anything else. I mean, Kirsty looks absolutely unbelievable, to be fair, at that gym, and everyone was just hyping. It was like, we need to get an audience in. Everyone was loving it. But I can guarantee you, Kirsty will say the same thing, and I definitely will, that we still could have seen improvements in ourselves.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that doesn't matter if you're...
And that's not necessarily a negative thing.
And I said it to Callie on the day.
Yeah.
I think, what did she say to us? You're that Insta couple in the gym that everyone hates.
With love, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was like...
But but
it still could be better.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll never forget John saying that to me on my shoot day, which was my third shoot I did. He said, this is the best you'll look now, but it's not the best you'll ever look.
Yeah, exactly.
And that'll be the same for prep. I better not look the same next year. But, you know, and even next year, I'm still going to want more. I still then want to grow. Or they still, like, even if, depending, the goalpost can chop and change all the time. But that is the best bit, rather than looking at it, like you say, in a sort of negative way of being like, oh, but I'm not the best that I can be. Okay, cool. So now it's only better onwards anyway. But this is the best now.
And individually.
100%. It's all individual.
Relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, especially with like comparing in terms of like, there's no comparison for your jobs. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, no one has that. And people saying, and equally people who have maybe a 9 to 5, they might have still those struggles of timings and stuff and things. Exactly. Like, the list is endless.
Everyone's got their own barriers.
100%. But it's been really exciting and so amazing to chat to you guys and get you on, because we've been trying to do this for about 2 months.
Shift life.
Yeah. So I finally managed to pin you both down.
Next one in 2026.
Yeah. So. Still going strong. But yeah, it's just kind of, you set such a bar to, 1, for people to believe in themselves, 2, for people to believe in themselves, even to have busy lives and jobs that are crazy and timings. Like, you can fit it in. You can make that time with cardio, with your training. Like, you guys, you train 4 times a week?
Yeah.
And you train 5 times? Yeah. And it's just working out, being super organised about it. Planning ahead.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And logbooking.
There you go. That was one thing that changed for you, wasn't it?
I mean, I've logbooked before, but not that strictly.
Yeah.
Like, to the point I'll be writing down what food I was having on the day as well, and what time, and how I'd do it around shifts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the thing is, it's only useful information that you're going to then look at the next time you do that. which is really, really exciting. So inspiring to say the least. Obviously, I will be sharing a lot more of Jake and Kirsty on my socials.
Not too much, I hope.
And obviously the wedding. But it's been really fun chatting, and thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having us.
And yeah, just obviously if you guys have any questions for Jake and Kirsty or for me, or have anything from this that you want to ask, ping them away. Obviously we've got I will post this onto all of my socials. And yeah, you can do it. For anyone out there, more than anything else, and just put your mind to it. But yeah, thank you for listening, and we shall see you on the next episode. A big thank you for joining me on my channel and tuning in. Find me on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon and YouTube at Diary to Empower. Follow me on Instagram, m_power.fitness, and TikTok, m.ibert. See you on the next episode.